an aggro or a mid-range deck. I want to see something spicy there, which Americas could absolutely deliver.
Yeah, it is the OTK Demon Hunter that Americas has brought. So, I mean, is there like an opportunity for for a sweep here? Because this is, to my knowledge, the first time we've seen this deviation advance.
Oh yeah.
I was waiting for it. I said it when we were watching the constructed matches yesterday. Like, in order to gain an edge here, a lot of these matches were coming down to like who could get the edge in a shaman mirror, right?
Yeah.
And so maybe China thinking that, okay, well, we got to do something else. So take out the shaman, try and increase our matchups across the board with like, 4 or 5 of our remaining decks.
Yeah.
And then go from there. I'm a fan of this, to be quite honest.
I can see where they're coming from for sure. Like, I think quite a few of the decks left available have gotten a bit better versus Demon Hunter recently. The inclusion of Doggy Biscuit and Ramming Mount in Face Hunter have drastically improved the matchup, in my opinion, which was already not terrible. I would still probably call a good Demon Hunter favored in that matchup, but a really buffed up minion can go a long way there. And even Shaman of their own for China can theoretically get the win against the Demon Hunter. It has once again got better in that matchup, in my opinion, through the much higher amount of burst that you can get with Multicaster offering you a more consistent card draw. But we have to get there first. It's coming down now to the Paladin Mirror to start things off, TJ. A deck that has not really been used as a counter much throughout, but more just a solid all-rounder, and a lot of the time a last resort for our players, because if they're down 0-2 and you need a deck that can win 3 games in a row, Paladin is something that can do that because it has very few true counters.
Yeah, Jack of all trades, master of none.
Precisely.
Is what this deck has sort of been for these teams over the course of the event, where, yeah, sure, sometimes it can squeak out wins, and it seems like it holds its own against a lot of decks, but just can't compete with, how fast some of these aggro decks are, or, how much value, say, a Quest Shaman can generate once you get to that point. It doesn't quite kill fast enough, and it doesn't quite defend itself well enough in order to get to that point. So, but this is the first Libram Paladin Mirror that I've watched, I think, so far this tournament. And judging by this start, Tsai Miao seems to have a better opening, right? Bannerman into Bannerman is quite powerful, though Neyara does have ways to fight with board with the Underlight Angling Rod. Aldor Trueseeker is kind of the card,
Yes.
in not only in this matchup, but anywhere, right? It allows you to get those Libra Hopes out earlier, tempo out the Libra Wisdom's faster. It's just so good.
That's absolutely right, and Neyara is just a couple draws away from a very good time. If she can get Libram of Wisdom, she can start cheating out this Devout Pupil quicker, and of course start powering up that Lady Liadrin. If she gets Libram of Hope, like you said, fantastic. That'll be 6 mana because of both the Aldor Attendant and Truth Seeker, when the Truth Seeker almost inevitably comes down. And then, hey, another McGurgle Prime. That's not bad either.
That's pretty good. McGurgle Prime can be good to kind of break these stalemates that you sometimes find yourself in if both players have similar hands and you're just kind of fighting board for board. McGurgle Prime can break that open quite quickly, because number of attacks is kind of the weakness at Paladin in the later stages of the game, where they can make these giant minions with Librams, but they can't quite chew through taunts to actually finish the game. So we'll see if that's going to come into play. The Coin Trueseeker here doesn't line up particularly well. Neyara could go for... actually, none of this works out well. This board is just a little bit awkward to have to deal with.
I mean, my first instinct is still just to go Coin Truth Seeker. I know it's not perfect. But it's still a little awkward for your opponent unless they have exactly another buff card to be able to get the necessary attack to kill it off. You can then follow up with Carriel, I suppose, and hopefully you can then use the Carriel plus the weapon to actually take out the Devout Pupil.
Yeah. It's a pretty weak turn though, and I'm worried that Neyara may just fall a little bit too far behind on the board because of this, but can still match like card for card, right? This Devout Pupil will be able to go down to the swing of the Angling Rod next turn, then she can play her own Aldor, but needs to start picking up some Librams, right? Because both Devout Pupil and the Lady Liadrin their power level relies on being able to chain together those early game spells and I guess late game spells with Libram. Needs some payoff for the True Seeker.
Just going for the buff there, I think is smart to play around City Tax, if nothing else, from Neyara.
And more damage if she does decide to swing into it, which she very likely
exactly.
will.
For Neyara, again, like, I just think it's best here to play the Aldor Truth Seeker. I know that it's not necessarily the best play in terms of like maximum stats or whatever, but you want to set up for Libram of Hope being a good build. You want to set up for it being playable off the top, especially with her being able to draw a couple cards off the Libram of Hope. And going coin buff as well here, absolutely fine. It just means that it's a little bit more survivable and doesn't just fall to the Libram of Wisdom she knows to be in hand.
Could also throw out the Murloc Tiny Fin.
Let's go.
Look at it. Double bannerman. Oh yeah.
Whoa. Yeah.
Could go for Libram of Justice here, just to keep tempo, but I think the Bannerman, just to collect the resources, is perfectly fine. Finds Blade Master Samuro, so that'll work quite well with the Libram of Justice, most likely.
Still ends up falling to the Libram of Wisdom, of course, once the double trade comes in, and hey, there we go. That's what I was talking about. In addition to the Libram of Hope, look at what the value that this Murloc Tiny Fin is getting right now, being able to trade into a 5/1. That's so sick.
Just so good. Just the best card ever printed in Hearthstone.
Look into those eyes and tell him he's wrong.
I mean, there was a point in time where if you looked at like HS Replay, how they have like cards played by format, that Murloc Tiny Fin broke into the top 10 for quite some time. And I just thought to myself, what a world we live in.
In what format? In Standard?
In Standard, yeah. It was at the beginning of this set during Shadow Priest dominance. Yeah. It was being played across all levels of play. This was, you know, like a long time prior to the Mindrender Lucia nerfs. And I was just very happy in that one fleeting moment. Alright, this is just good.
This is just
trade's
good.
over.
Yeah, trade it in. You probably just take those Librams back. Like, take a trade and then just stick them all on the Liadrin as well. There's no silence effect, no transform effects. I don't think you can generate any Murlocs to do that either.
No.
Worst case scenario, you're just going to get them all back to hand if she's got Barrel or a Libram of Justice. But without even that at the moment for Neyara, she's just left in a very, very precarious situation where she's far behind on tempo. Liadrin's already played for Saimiao. He's of course got, I guess, Varian if he wants to, just for a huge minion on the following turn. But his real concern now is just hand size, honestly.
Yeah. But this is so much on the board, and Lethal Hadron, just to get back a Hand of Adal and a Libra of Hope, just does not seem that powerful. But nothing really seems that powerful here, right? Bannerman was first instinct, but then you're kind of pigeonholed into the Devout Pupil to try and block the 9 damage. I guess you could go a little bit wide and go Bannerman, Haldor Attendant, and the McGurgle. But that also seems weak, and you're taking 9 damage. So there also is a McGurgle Prime in deck, so Bannerman can get closer to that. Maybe if it gets... Oh, there it is!
Okay, now we're talking. If he can get a couple of, I don't know, rushing Murlocs, or just stats, really. Just a whole bunch of attack to hope to push for lethal the next turn.
Still a long shot.
It's just such big minions for Saimiao. Like, without the reduction effect of Barov or Justice, Neyara's just not chewing through this. It doesn't matter how big and beefy your Murlocs are.
This is 23 damage being represented on board, 25 with the 2 Librams in hand. It would have to be Rush Murlocs, or there's just lethal set up.
And it would have to be like 2 or 3 even. You'd have to get like 2 fishy flyers at least to be able to kill this off.
Yeah. But at the moment, that's the only out. And with that draw, it is still the only out.
Barov just doesn't cut it, does it? I mean, you can go Barov and then trade into the 9/9, I suppose. It's probably more likely, to be honest, to win you the game than going for the Murloc. But I guess the Murloc actually has some power to fight back on the following turn.
Yeah, if you just try and go for the 1 in 17 for Brav, then you just kind of clear up the board, but then what? Like, there's just no follow-up. Then follow with the Prime.
Oh.
Okay, well, there's a Crab Rider and a third Gurgle.
Yeah.
That'll be game 1.
At least Neyara, from the looks of it, can somewhat see the funny side of this situation, even if it's in a somewhat macabre or grim fashion. Because, again, it's just another game where I would rack my brains, really, to find a way that Neyara could have got further in, or into this game in a more realistic fashion. Like, I was saying I would have sequenced the mid-game a tiny bit differently. I was advocating for, what, Truth Seeker 1 turn earlier than she went for. But I don't think that's enough of a difference to change the tide of this game. What's Saimiao up to here? Does he not see? I mean, Neyara knows it's lethal, as you can tell from her reaction.
He's just flexing a little bit. Showing off some cards.
Okay, he just
didn't see it. He just gave a small raise of the eyebrow, and that's it. So
that's all you can get. Perfect gameplay, peak performance right there, and a big win for Saimiao on the Paladin. Well done. I mean, you know, we were talking about Neyara's gameplay for the most part because she was trying to dig herself out of that hole. But for Saimiao, it was very easy, right? You play your biggest minion each turn, and then you smack your opponent, which won him the game very convincingly.
It's got to feel rough, though.
Oh yes.
If it's true that he actually just didn't see it, that makes it feel even worse.
I just love as well that he gave us no reaction at all. Just like spends the entire turn trading and clearing, and then he's like, "Oh yeah, I had lethal." Perfect
He made
play.
it to the rope too,
Yeah.
and then gave us a tiny raise of the eyebrow, and that was it. It was all he gave us.
That's all we need.
Yep. All right. Looking forward, America's. Is it time already for the Demon Hunter? Because it's going to come out at some point in the series. You're not going to let it sit on the bench for very long, I would assume. It's just a matter of which deck you want to line it up against. You could just save it for last. Libram Paladin doesn't have too many of those polarized matchups, so you can go for kind of like a slight favorite and then roll from there. But I kind of just want to see the Demon Hunter.
I also want to see the Demon Hunter, I agree, but I'm not actually certain that now is the time to let it loose. Against Paladin, I would argue that's one of the decks it actually kind of struggles against. I'd hear out the argument that Demon Hunter's favored for sure, but Devout Pupils, Librams of Hope, Varian if it goes that long, which it actually does surprisingly often in this matchup. These are really difficult minions for Demon Hunter to kill. They basically can't do it, and they just have to stall the game until they go for the lethal combo. I haven't played the most recent build with Need for Greed, I've got to be honest. I don't know if that speeds up the combo enough to the point where it never gets to turn 7 or 8, or turn 8 or 9, I guess, more reasonably. But I've got to say that I think Demon Hunter has such good matchups left over that I would rather start with the Druid for the Americas. Try and get that in to just, again, get underneath the Paladin before it's able to get down all of its big healings and taunts. And then when you get countered by the Shaman, then it's Demon Hunter time, right? This is your ace in the hole that allows you to actually fully counter the Shaman.
Well, that certainly makes sense. And most of America's series that they've won in Constructed have been off the back of Monsanto on the Quest Shaman. In the past 3 that they've played, 8 out of their 9 wins have been Monsanto on the Quest Shaman in their past 3 Constructed victories. Yes, wow. So I wonder if that's like their Achilles heel, is having to rely on Quest Shaman, which is kind of funny because of Monsanto's general thoughts towards the deck. Obviously, this is a very unique format that we don't get to see very often, and decks that you wouldn't expect to be that good shine.
Yeah, but it does just seem like at the end of every series, or the start of every series sometimes, they just go to Monsanto, please, it's time. Release the hat and get us some wins on the Shaman, because Lord knows that they can't seem to get it done with anything else. Yeah, there we go. Yeah. Druid. He's a Druid kind of dude.
Yep. Rocking his electronic monocle.
The electronical, if you will.
Yeah. It's a pretty good start for Samyao.
Oh, yeah.
With not on the play, but does have a 1-drop. Algidon does have the peasant on the play, so.
Oh, look at this, right? This is huge. You got the peasant. They're not going to answer that on turn 1 unless they, coin into city tax, which is definitely not the play. And then you just go a couple of 2-drops, hide your stuff behind a taunt, follow up with the composting. This keep for Nagdan's working out gorgeously now.
Yeah, it really is. See, I'm now thinking about coining out the Libram. it challenges the peasant right away, so I don't think that it's entirely necessary. I like holding onto the coin for the flexibility.
Oh, it's tough now, isn't it? It's probably still just the play of the Razormane plus the Taunt, but double one drop is kind of tempting here as well, actually.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously we have the benefit of seeing both players' hands, so we can see that there's a city tax to be able to punish the double one drop, and I guess you could taunt it, but then you'd be leaving the minion on board, and I don't know, just neither one feels particularly good.
Agreed.
Agree to agree.
Sign me out now with the obvious play of coin Bannerman. But that does leave you a little bit low on the reactivity front. You're unable to actually clear their board for quite a while because it's turn 6 then that you would have to wait to before you can go for Libram of Justice plus City Tax. And the Banana Men are not actually doing that much quite yet.
So, with going to the tax, yeah.
Makes sense.
Yep. Challenges the Battle Guard on board. Ooh. Okay. So with the city tax use, I think you can just load up the board here, take a value trade, and then set up for the composting next turn.
No, I agree completely. Like, the only thing that you're afraid of here is second city tax. I think that's literally the only thing, because Samuro can't come down yet, Cariel can't come down yet. Broomstick, I suppose, with a hero power is a little bit scary, but you can stick the taunt in the way, which means that the Broomstick, again, doesn't do that much. So it's only the second city tax that you would be afraid of. Oh, but he's saving the taunt anyway. Okay.
Yeah. Or it could be saving it just to rush in for the next turn. Get the immediate draw.
Oh! Oh!
I don't know. I guess it's still good. Like, how do you... I just always feel slightly uncomfortable going for this without
Oracle
composting.
Oh, the composting, yeah.
Yeah, the like if you don't play the composting this turn, because of Blade Master Samuro, but it's very tempting. But I think you just take the composting.
Agreed. I also think it's composting here. Like, if they have Samuro now, or if they drew second city back from the top, really quite bad.
Yeah.
I guess Nalgadan taking... Oh, wow. He even goes for the rush instead of the taunt. I was going to say taking a slightly longer-term route that does leave him vulnerable to Samuro now, but if Saimiao doesn't have it, it's fantastic. And even if he does, he can then just go Teacher's Pet, whatever he gets off the top, and then go for composting. But it's quite a lot less cards he's getting himself. He's very low on value now.
Yeah. And this was the situation that I was worried about. I mean, it looks like Nalgadan's still going to be able to get a decent composting because can take the trade over with the Teacher's Pet now, and next turn would have very likely a 4-minion composting, but it could have been just like better board states overall, I suppose, because you could just keep chaining good draws to good draws, more options. Is he thinking about taking a 2-minion composting here and just rushing in? Nah. Porcupine.
我要用书本砸你了。
Particularly premium.
Not really, is it?
Here we go. Composting can come down.
Yeah.
Full reload. 2 Teacher's Pets gone, which means it's just the Greybow left as far as like Oracle, Battle Guard synergy.
Yes.
Right? You're not fully limited to just that. You could just use Oracle and the Battle Guard to chain together these massive boards to threaten Arbor up, but doesn't quite have the same level of punch.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. It's Arbor up that's really the kicker here. As soon as Nalgadan can find that, then he can actually start making a push to close out the game. Until though, honestly, I think Saimia's very happy with this board state. He can just keep playing a Taunt, a couple minions, threaten trades. Broom helps a lot as well. And Nalgadan, I think, just won't really be able to keep up. Like, the Greybow helps a lot, of course. But Saimiao just has too much time, as I currently see it, and time is so heavily on his favor because eventually he's going to find Libram of Hope, Varov, Varian, Lady Liadrin, whatever, just all these powerhouse cards that swing the game so drastically in his favor.
Yeah. You really need to get things rolling early as the Aggro Druid and force just like inefficient turns from the Paladin.
Okay, so you can buff and then just slam down the 5/6 Devout Pupil. Very nice. Doesn't have rush at the moment, obviously, but he's still just a heckin' big body. Really annoying, but now Gadan to try and chew through.
Alright, so the Squirrel probably goes into the Devout Pupil first, because that has a composting. You can see what the draw is, see if that changes things. It's going to happen anyway, unless he wants to spend the mana on the hero power to rip off the Divine Shield, but I just think that this is the most efficient way to go about it. Wait a second.
That's not how that works.
Well, actually it is, because the card's composting.
Oh, sorry.
Because that's how squirrels are made. Other squirrels die and compost into the soil.
I can just imagine Ollie at the door, wide-eyed. Daddy, is that true?
Kid loves squirrels. It's weird.
I'm sure you'll get that out of him one day.
Nope, it's just gonna stick with him forever. It's gonna be 50
90-year-old
years
man.
old, just yeah, staring out his window. Look!
Another one of them dang squirrels.
Dad, look! A squirrel!
Meanwhile, you'll be busy casting Hearthstone 57.
I hope. So the Squawker here, quite strong. There's another Libram to add to the pile of Librams, and can fully clear off this board here. And now get on sort of back to square one, and not really much going on in the hand. Would need a bunch of acorns come out of the deck right now, and then Arbor up. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, still probably lose.
That's
Okay.
a nut. That's not a nut.
Well, it is, but not the kind he wanted.
Well, you can play a bunch of minions, right? Like, your options are either play them now before your opponent puts even more stuff on board, or wait until you draw either Arbor up or second Composting. I think you're supposed to just play them now as he's going for here and just hoping that your opponent can't actually clear everything off. Obviously, his Greybound makes it an awful lot stickier. And with the way he's done it, he still has 2 minions left. So even if Composting is drawn and the board is cleared, he has a way to still draw at least a couple cards. Oh, that's the card.
That's the one. Now again, I'm probably hoping that Samia would just sort of run out of resources and have to keep stacking Librams on a single thing, and that the Greybow Death Rattle could just keep things going for however long he needed to find a bunch of acorns plus an arbor up to end the game. But that variant's going to put a stop to that dream for Nagidon.
Yeah, it's the problem. Paladin just top decks so well. It's honestly one of its greatest strengths that you can just always rely, it feels like, to top deck some kind of a powerhouse with. Like a third of the deck, it feels like just being solid draws at any point in the game.
Yeah. This turn, however, not particularly strong for Samyao, but Nagidon really doesn't have that much follow-up. Okay.
Ooh, okay. So you can play them both, buff up. I guess you have to trade into the parrot then.
Yeah. Greybow will emerge.
Yeah.
Probably.
That's what it tends to do.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Wow, going bold. Just hoping that there's no taunt, no removal. You can push for lethal next turn. However, that's the daddy of all taunts there with Rush, Divine Shield as well. It's going to be real tough for Nagidon to be able to chew through that, especially with a Devout Pupil as well. It's so premium, so many stats, and I think just too much for Nagidon to get through.
Isolate. World with Greybow, okay. More acorns, okay.
2 nuts. I mean, that looks a little bit like an acorn with its hair, but it's not.
I think they just used the same art.
No one would have realized.
Just draw an acorn, slap some goggles on it. Call it a day.
Boom! Next card.
Next card.
Bentley just comes to the art department like, right, Ashes of Outland comes out in 3 days and we've got no art. Quickly. We just forgot. How many
times can we use an acorn? Okay, this is a lot of Librams, but it's one-dimensional Librams. I guess there's also the Noble Mount for Lady Leandrin as well.
True, yeah.
And taunts are not Druid's friend. Well, they are if it's their taunts. Taunts on the other side, though, not friends.
So true.
Taunts are friends, not food.
Not food. He never knew his father. Yeah, Nagidon's struggling even to look at this one. It's just sickening, the quality of draw that Saimiao has been able to accrue. Like, you could honestly go for Libram of Justice for little more than a Light's Justice to be able to swing through the Divine Shield, but again, it doesn't really matter one way or the other. as long as it's not exactly composting off the top for Nalgadan, nothing's getting through all this, right?
Yeah, and it is not. It's the pack mule. And Nalgadan can clear off the variant. It would require hero power. But then there's still all these Librams coming through. Greyball doesn't even die, so it'd just sort of be isolated on board, and the only minions are taunts, so Timeout could just pick apart the board and even kill the Greybow without Death Rattle even going off. I mean, would it ever be correct to just not attack here? Just play the 2 pack mules, hero power, and hold, in hopes that composting is the very next draw?
I feel like at this point in the game, he's already too committed. Like, say his board gets cleared and he draws composting as the next card. 2 mules in hand is not going to make a lick of difference. He needs to go all in right now to hope, again, by some miracle, that he can protect the rest of the board with his mules. Nalgadan knows as well as we do that's not going to work. But he has to try. Like, there's a minuscule, below 1% chance, I think, that still it's going to be enough to get through with all of this. And if Taimiao has another fairly defensive turn where he doesn't clear anything like last turn, I don't know, maybe composting into Arbor Up can get there, something like that.
Yeah. But I doubt it.
As do I. You may have been able to tell.
As do I. Oh, that's just lethal. Exactly,
what a
22.
spot.
Yeah.
Man, Saimiao's good at spotting these lethals. He gets like the lethals or the creative clears, I feel like, way more than I can spot, which isn't necessarily saying a lot, but good job there, Saimiao. I mean, I say that obviously after having him miscounted a very obvious lethal last game and just gone for the clear, but he got it in the end anyway, after just styling on Neyara. And it means that the Paladin now 2 games up to 0. No Shaman left available to counter any of this for the Americans because it was obviously banned away, so Monsanto cannot do what he's done in 2 of the 3 previous constructed victories for the Americas. And instead, I guess they're going to have to rely on the Demon Hunter. Like, if your opponent left it up for you, it's one of the most powerful decks in the format. You've got to take it, and Monsanto's going to have to be playing out of his gourd on this deck.
Yeah, it's this is the reward that they got, I guess, for trying to go against the grain and ban the Shaman, but they're at a significant disadvantage regardless, right? You could pick any deck in the game, and winning 3 times in a row against an array of, 5 decks, 6 decks from your opponent that they can pick and choose which one they queue at any specific time is still going to be difficult. Even though they're not tier 1 decks, or, well, some of them are, but not like the absolute S tier decks. It's still a challenge. So we'll see if they're going to be able to do it. I would be incredibly surprised if they don't queue Demon Hunter, because I feel like the spread of matchups just makes sense for the OTK Demon Hunter.
Agreed. Yeah. And the silver lining for them is that if they do win with the Demon Hunter against the Paladin, I'd argue that's the hardest out of the way first. Like, I haven't played Demon Hunter against Pirate Warrior that much, and I would expect it to be okay for the Pirate Warrior because they apply a lot of pressure in the early game, have all these minions, and if you don't clear anything for a turn, Mr. Smite can come down and close it all out. But apart from that, like, Shaman is a good matchup for the Demon Hunter, Face Hunter, Aggro Druid, Shadow Priest. They're all just good matchups. You're just beating up on these aggro board-based decks with your premier removal. And so I think it's, like you said, undeniably unfavored for Monsanto, but eminently doable.
All right, well, we're going to get into it. Taking a look at the actual deck list.
Oh, Saimiao, my lord, that is disgusting.
Ooh, there's a need for greed in here. I got the need.
The need for
You're
greed.
supposed to. Okay, there we go. Need for greed. One of the new Demon Hunter cards, tradable card that if drawn this turn costs 3, draws 3 cards. So can be quite good, especially post Curses. It's just 0 mana, draw 3, and you can trade it away early on to try and make that happen a little bit more consistently.
What is that bit in The Office where he says, "I've got the need for speed"? What? I can't remember what episode's that in.
I don't know. Normally I'd be able to remember, but right now I can't.
No worries. Oh no, it's need for tweed, not need for speed. My bad.
Oh yeah, the need for tweed.
The need for tweed.
Solid.
That's a good bit. Anyway,
Yeah.
right, getting into the game. Monsanto with a reasonable hand, I want to say. It's a little difficult shifting my mind back into a deck that doesn't rely on just playing the biggest green card every turn on curve. But I think with the combo of the Moargs and the Immolation Aura to be able to clear up whatever comes down in these starting turns, and then allowing the Spectral Sight to move into the Outcast position, Monsanto can quite happily move along here with quest completion on turn 4, you would guess, after a clear either this turn or arguably next turn.
Doesn't want an excuse to just use the Immolation Aura. Get that Spectral Sight to Outcast position. Ooh, yay. Alright, never mind. We're just going to use it now. I don't think he can afford to use that swing plus the trade and not actually get the quest completion down this turn. And again, that is the perfect excuse to get... Well, not to get it to Outcast position because it was played. Perfect excuse to use that Immolation Aura because now it just doesn't even matter.
That's right, but here for Monsanto, what looked like a pretty mediocre start that would get run over by these cheap minions and these Divine Shields, actually pretty good now. He can go for Guild Trader, Moarg, coin, weapon into Divine Shield, and then just play the Fellscream Blast, right, to clear the entire board.
Yeah.
And then he would also have, now with the double jump, the chance to just go double jump glide the turn after, which is a pretty good follow-up to get quest done. I think I like that more than going for an Immolation Aura, because it just gets you a 2-4 and a 3-4 on the board, which against Paladin is really good. They do not deal damage with spells very much at all.
Yeah, it's just the city tax.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't really touch this because obviously, while the Moarg benefits both sides, the Guild Trader does not. So this is quite good. Now has pretty likely a second quest completion, as you mentioned, going into the next turn. So I think Monsanto's looking good from here.
Okay, he can buff his para up to a 4-5 and then rush in to kill off the... I don't know, spell damage, I guess, is probably scarier than the Moarg at the moment, but it's kind of hard to decide. They're both really troubling.
Yeah.
Or troublesome would be more appropriate.
I liked troubling better. Should go back to that one.
Deeply unsettling. On a mortal level.
Yeah. Grotesque.
Oh, it's the hand, not the Libram as well. Anyway, okay, that's even better.
Oh, okay. This is going to be the Moarg.
Spicy. That's a very nice draw. You're slamming that down.
Yerp.
That's interesting, actually. Was it ever supposed to be double jump first? Because my first idea was that it was ridiculous because you just take the the Spectral Sight while you can. But the only other out cards left in the deck were I-Beam and Glide, right? And if it's I-Beam, you just I-Beam, and then you can play the Spectral Sight anyway. And if it's Glide, I feel like I would kind of rather play Glide this turn than the Spectral Sight, because when you play Glide, you want to shuffle more card draw effects back into your deck so that your post-Glide hand is more dense on a card draw. I'm not certain at all, but I kind of feel like maybe for Monsanto, that was a reasonable approach to go for.
Maybe he didn't want to use the I-Beam right now.
That's fair, yeah.
Because if, like you said, with the Glide and I-Beam being the only outcast cards left, yes, he could I-Beam and then Spectral Sight, but maybe didn't want to part ways with the Glide, or maybe... no, the mana would have still worked out to be able to complete Quest.
Right.
With the tradable, because still would have had one more. You don't know. It's a good spot, but I'm not sure if it's what he cared about in that specific instance.
Another slow turn here for Time Yao as well, which for Monsanto says a couple of things. Number one, great, my opponent had a slow turn. And secondly, the rest of their hand is probably pretty good in the coming turns, because they're not just going to be passing with good cards in hand for the mid game. And so that incentivizes Glide pretty heavily, right? I would argue.
Yeah. Wow, okay. Playing the Brimstone for Tempo. You know, obviously there's not that many things to rush into. You have Kurtrus and like maybe a Moarg that sticks on the board after a board clear. But for the most part, there's not really much going for you. So I think you're onto something here with the Glide.
Yeah, probably. Again, just getting rid of this many cards at this point does kind of hurt, because I was advocating for Glide while he had less cards in hand on the previous turn. Now you're looking at a clear, but the problem is that if you clear this turn and you're met with, I don't know, I mean, it couldn't be Libram of Hope yet if he's been keeping track, but just, I don't know, a Devout Pupil, say, for example, you really would rather have completed Quest on this turn. And I think here, though, Monsanto is able to do both. He can clear up most of the board, and then with trade on the Guild Trader, Peddler, and Need for Tweed, he's able to get the Kurtrus in hand and set up to hopefully just slam it down next turn.
Yeah.
Good draw.
Yep. Monsanto's still, I think, perfectly fine. Incredibly healthy. Kurtrus coming down on board now without too much on the other side.
Oh, yeah. This is, and please correct me if I'm wrong, what the French would call monster Kurtrus.
Nope. You got it. You got it perfectly there.
Oh, fantastic.
Is there an outcast card left?
Oh, I actually don't think there is, right? Because he's played both Spectrals, he's played one I-Beam, and he's got the other I-Beam and both Glides in hand, so good spot. I think you're actually supposed to save that for post-Glide then.
Yeah.
Or just dump it if you don't want it in hand, which is actually also reasonable.
Yeah. That was the thought process there for him, though.
Okay, so bump, double trade. You can't quite kill off the Kurtrus, I don't think, with purely the small minions. You're going to need to go for something a little extra, or of course, Libram of Justice here, plus the Libram of Hope, plus the Libram of Wisdom to be able to clear up the entire board and push as much damage face as possible. But the good thing here for Monsanto is the rest of his deck basically is combo, right? He's still got Il'gynoth, Fellscream Blast, another talented Arcanist, I think, the Guild Traders. Like, he's honestly, he could possibly go for lethal on this turn if this Acrobatics gives him the goods.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay. Slam both of those. That draws
yeah.
you 4 cards.
Yeah, we'll have to dump some stuff here first.
Okay, I like this. Oh my goodness.
2 more. Need
Demon
for
Hunter.
Greed draws 3, but
Is this what Hearthstone's like in the outside world? This is so powerful, everything he's doing. This isn't just like a 5-mana 4/6 on curve. He's drawing his
what are the
entire deck.
cards? Because the Il'gynoth is part of the
时间不多了。
The Acrobatics.
Acrobatics.
That's
Yeah.
fine. You don't need to proc that. He's got so much card draw. He's still got Need for Greed in hand, right? You could just play that if you needed to. It's infinite.
谢谢惠顾。
Yeah, copy the Moog. He's got now lethal guaranteed in hand next turn, right? Doesn't even need to draw another card because he's just got double Moog, Arcanist, plus the Il'gynoth and Fellscream Blast. So I think that is just going to do it.
是自取灭亡。
Yeah. And I think this was a pretty expected outcome, right? A lot of times Paladin just doesn't have the like aggressive power to end the game before Demon Hunter can get rolling.
Yeah, Divine Shield's making no difference because obviously Monsanto can target his own minions with the Fellscream Blast, which will still close out the game. And who would have thought it? The deck that they left up, not the Shaman obviously, but Monsanto still left with the power deck out of the 3 players in the Americas, and it's still with the potential to sweep as Simiao falls. As I was saying before the start of this game, I think that Paladin was probably the strongest deck they had going into this Demon Hunter, which means now, while it's still 2 victories that need to be fought for Monsanto, they're 2 victories that are both very doable, I would argue.
Yeah, that's just step 1. 1 game at a time here for Americas. And we talked about it earlier, Americas, because they seem so favored when it does come to Battlegrounds, which the event is a little bit more weighted towards. They can just get a little bit of a buffer in Mercenaries plus Constructed, right? Maybe Split. They're looking fantastic. Given their historical performances that they've got in Battlegrounds. So if Monsanto can manage to pull a reverse sweep here, that'd be pretty massive for their chances overall in the finals.
It would. He would have done his job already, just carrying the rest of the Americas constructed team on his shoulders, as he has done over pretty much all of their victories now in this tournament so far. Because as we were saying, even if China win the remaining 3 points available before we go to Battlegrounds with 1 other constructed win and 2 Mercenaries wins, it still goes to Battlegrounds. The winner is the first player to 4 points, which obviously means with Americas looking still unstoppable on Battlegrounds, they would be in a great spot once it gets there. I think for China, even though it doesn't matter which of their 2 remaining decks they queue with first, their best chance, I would argue, is actually the Face Hunter, weirdly enough, which might sound a little counterintuitive based on how combo Demon Hunter versus Face Hunter has gone historically. What with it being very Demon Hunter favored with all the healing and the removal. But I think, again, as I said, Doggy Biscuit, Ramming Mount give you just enough extra health, survivability, and also attack power in these early turns that they can create the kind of minions the Demon Hunter really struggles to answer. Like a 4, 5, even 6 health minion, it's kind of specific for Demon Hunter to be able to kill off without using a lot of very valuable combo pieces.
Yeah, that's true. What else do they have remaining left in their lineup? What about Shadow Priest?
I think it's just a slightly worse version of the Hunter in that matchup, now that Elucia isn't a card in the deck.
What
That
about
matchup always
Pirate Warrior?
Pirate Warrior, I could see. That's the only other real contender I'd argue that might have more of a chance than the Face Hunter. They've got reasonably high health minions coming down every turn. They've got the added longevity and the ability to keep putting pressure with the Juggernaut later on in the game. And of course, they're just putting plenty of damage through with the cannons, the weapons, Mr. Smite at the end as well. A lot of damage.
Yeah. Alright, well, let's move into it. Trying to find some success on the Pirate Warrior here for Murphy. And Monsanto. Once again, the hope for the America squad. Reasonable opening hand, I suppose. Though, double jump maybe not as good because glide against Pirate Warrior is usually not particularly strong. Not a deck that, especially with the way this one is built from Team China, that holds on to cards quite often.
Man, that's a rough draw for Monsanto. I don't think you play it. I think with the fact that the left-hand side of your hand is very dumpable, you're supposed to save it for the left-hand side so that you can complete probably the second stage of quest. Because next turn, Monsanto, although it's not fantastic, could just go double jump, trade on the Guild Trader, complete the quest that way, and then play the Spectral Spike from the left the turn after.
Yeah.
Wow, okay. Didn't expect this.
Just wants to have guaranteed quest completion next turn with the trade plus a Spectral Sight.
Yeah, I mean, he had guaranteed quest completion next turn anyway. I guess it just cycles through his deck quicker, and he's thinking if he gets himself a glide to go after the first turn of quest completion, then it won't really matter if he has double jumps in hand, because he'll be shuffling everything back in anyway. So I can understand it.
Ooh, okay. Sigil's actually quite good. Oh, and Tusk Piercer. Okay, so now I can get the front-loaded
that's
draw
really nice.
ready to go for the next turn. Just ensuring that he can actually complete the quest, but I imagine we're going to be seeing Sigil plus a Tusk Piercer and a swing here.
Yeah, it's just guaranteed, right? Because you draw 1 natural, 2 from the Sigil, 3 from breaking the weapon, 4 from trading the Peddler, and then 5 from trading the Need for Greed as well, which is a full 5, giving him quest completion going into turn 5 potentially, which is very nice and fast. That's the kind of pace you need to be keeping up to beat Pirate Warrior.
And then would have guaranteed on turn 5 too. Would be using I-Beam plus Glide.
Great point.
That's probably just good enough. Obviously, depending on what he picks up with the draws that he's going to have next turn, but a little less efficient when you're doing it with trades because you're not getting as many reductions since you're drawing a card and then trading it back away. So
interestingly enough, he could actually just go for Need for Greed next turn instead if he doesn't want to break the weapon because of the proc of the Sigil as well. I don't know if that's better necessarily, because it does make Glide a little worse by using a very efficient card draw mechanism for after Glide. But it does leave the weapon intact, which would then leave you open to alternate ways of completing the 3rd stage of quest if you don't want to play Glide. Ooh la la.
with all of these trades that need to happen, still has mana to be able to
Oh yeah.
play the Immolation Aura. So could just board clear here.
He could also go with Moarg Immolation or Moarg Fellscream Blast if he'd rather stick a 2/4, which is I think at least worth considering. And he could even play the Moarg for 1 after the discount comes in from trading twice. Yeah, I'm not sure that that's better at all, but consider.
时间不多了。
谢谢惠顾。
Immolation.
各得其所。
Yeah. Just fine. Oh, Murphy has a hand as well. Should we look at that, TJ?
Just pirates. Move along there, folks. Nothing to see here.
我们需要更
Wait a second,
Just
just a bunch full of pirates.
Just a bunch of pirates.
Everyone look!
Yar. I mean, this is a probably as good as the glide's gonna get. I feel.
Yeah.
Just sort of resetting the hand for Murphy. It's 4 cards into 4 cards, so just
I'm
the
just trying to
exact average outcome.
I'm trying to think if you can have any read on the hand as to whether or not you'd like to shuffle it. Like, he drew a couple of times with Harbor Scamp, right? Which I guess means it probably has some pirates in it.
Yeah. So it has some upside of maybe giving Murphy less pirates back.
Exactly, yeah. I think it's correct.
Which he gets a similar hand back, right? The corrupted stage dive comes back.
Yeah, it's okay. He only needs to
Brav.
play... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Nope. I was just
saying the name of the
Lord Barav. Yep. Kurtrus, Illidari Studies, hat, chair,
Oh,
mushroom.
feeling quite cognizant today, eh, TJ? You're bragging.
好消息，有财宝。
We get it. You're lucid.
Eyesight on point today.
Well, again, this has become nice and easy for Monsanto. You play your biggest minion. This time the Kurtrus, and then you hope to kill them next turn.
Yeah, you can get the sigil done as well. Yeah. I just don't think that. I was like, he's gonna think about it for a second. Make sure that he's not missing anything. Gather himself, take a deep Monsanto breath.
Attune himself to the rhythms of the hat.
Yeah. He actually just has like a miniature boombox in the hat at all times. Just so he has music playing. Like, who needs headphones? Like, that's why Monsanto never wears headphones.
His hat picks up radio waves and then just blasts it out.
Blasts it directly into his brain.
It's just got speakers pointed towards his head.
我得做出决定。
Yeah, well, I mean, Murphy's actually been able to deal a significant amount of damage.
has.
All the way down to 9. Rakara's complete. But that's the thing about OTK Demon Hunters. They really don't care about their life total.
谢谢惠顾。
Until they do.
Until they do. Which I think he cares right now, but has a way to bounce it back up if things go astray here with this turn.
Exactly, yeah. If nothing else, he's got a heal for 10 with Guild Trader Moog plus the I-Beam. He would much rather find the Fellscreen Blast, apologies, in order to heal back up to full on this turn, but it's not terrible at all just to go for it this way. He could dig for Chaos Leech to heal for a little bit more instead, or some card draw, I suppose, off of the Illidari Studies.
Yeah, could also heal for a little bit more now, right? 14. Actually, just going to hold on to the combo pieces.
Okay, I think that's quite reasonable. Oh, it's never Skull. It's literally just never Skull. Like, it's always a bait. I thought it was going to be the Glide there, actually. But even that he doesn't deem as worthy. He would rather just copy a Moog. Because now, to be fair, while he is dead on card draw, as soon as he finds that second Moog, he's just going to win the game on the spot. And it just becomes a straight-up race now. He's got so many good draws left in the deck. He's got, like, 2 acrobatics right, a need for greed, a bunch of tradables. Moog instantly wins the game, but he's also got a couple of dead cards, and it's only going to take 1, maybe 2 of those for him to just lose the game.
Yeah. And he's sort of running out of time here. And, you know, that turn was pretty difficult to sequence, right? You could say maybe he should have checked first. With the Illidari studies for the philosophy. Oh my god, this is disgusting. And there it is.
There it is.
Oh my god, there it is. Oh, look at it.
Infinity damage. Absolutely blaring right now. So loud, Murphy's probably thinking, what is that sound?
I mean, the venue for him is probably loud as is. Probably blasting that rock music that they play during the breaks just constantly.
True.
Whoa, wait. Don't smile. He couldn't help himself this time. Just so proud of his play.
As he should be.
Yeah, that was a solid game. The final, not the final turn with the kill, but the turn before that seemed a little bit messy. But I was saying hard to sequence because he didn't want to check the Illidari studies first because he knew that Moarg plus I-Beam was happening, and it would have wasted the Illidari studies buff, right, on the Outcast card, and maybe he would have needed to play that turn or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Maybe couldn't have been the biggest deal in the world, but could have ended that turn with an extra Moarg in hand, right, if he had gone the other way. But very kind of difficult turn to sequence because you don't know that information, and you could be punished by not going for the I-Beam first if you really need to fit in whatever that Outcast card was. So overall, nicely done for Monsanto. Now going to a game 5, and it was looking quite grim, but this is the risk that Team China took with leaving up this OTK Demon Hunter. They thought, oh man, Americas has just been sweeping with Quest Shaman over and over again, or maybe not necessarily sweeping, but getting all of their wins in any particular series with Quest Shaman. Let's get it out of the way. But it turns out players have been banning the Mage, the Warlock, Demon Hunter, and the Rogue for a reason. It's because it doesn't feel like you have the power level to stand up to those decks, which just seem like they're in another tier. And when you're playing it well, like Monsanto is with this OTK Demon Hunter, it seems hard to beat. And now, back to the drawing board for China. What's going to come out next?
Well, I was hypothesizing that I think it would be the Hunter earlier on, but Simiao clearly disagrees. It's going to be the Aggro Druid, and I can see why. It has historically had a reasonable shot against the Demon Hunter. But a couple of things have actually changed. I would argue not in the favor of Druid since then. They've lost Watch Posts, which was one of the best cards against Demon Hunter, and they've lost Neophyte, which very commonly came in slotted in the list. For example, it's even in the Americas deck list as a one-off. And those are 2 premium disruption cards you very often need to buy you that 1 extra turn before you can go wide with an Arbor or a Composting. Whereas now, by slotting in Druid of the Reef, and sometimes the Jerry Rig, but not so for the Chinese players. They've lost a lot of that disruption, which means they are significantly more vulnerable to the AoE and the card draw from Monsanto on the Demon Hunter. But even with all of that said, it's still a premium hand here for Tsai Miao with the Battle Guard, a Taunt, and even the Druid of the Reef isn't looking bad.
And Mr. Smite.
He's also there.
Yeah. Yeah. I think pretty good hand. This Battle Guard's able to stick. A Teacher's Pet can come down on 3. Mr. Smite. He wants to party.
Did somebody say Mr. Smite? No. Nobody said that. Stop referring to yourself as Mr. Smite.
Then he gets you with the technicality where he said Mr. Smite, so somebody did say Mr. Smite.
And so then you have to invite him to your party legally, and he's the winner.
Yeah, pirate law.
Edwin's just like, please, who told him about this again? You have to stop. He just won't stop charging.
It's cooking with that damn pot. With his pea soup.
What a dweeb.
What kind of nerd cooks pea soup? Alright, well, this is a mega start.
Oh, yeah.
For Tsai Miao. Is going to be able to get that Teacher's Bed down next turn, most likely, unless Monsanto picks up like an I-beam here. Acrobatics will complete the quest just on its own. And he's going to play... Yeah, that... I was about to say, he's going to play the more expensive one. Just to get a cheaper... It's going to be a 1-mana Acrobatics. So that was picked up from the Sigil.
Right, and he still gets to play the weapon is the very important thing to break the Divine Shield and increase the number of cards he's drawing next turn. Like this is very salvageable for Monsanto. Like obviously this is going fantastically for Tsai Miao, but he now has Guild Trader and Moog reduced in hand, which means if he can reduce a Fell Screen Blast or an Immolation Aura, this board's gone like that.
Okay, Immolation Aura picked up. Not worried about Arbor up, so won't die this turn. I mean, good. Maybe just I-beam the Teacher's Pet here to set up for the clear next turn.
Yeah, I mean, it looks like he's considering going for the Moog on this turn, but it's still a turn away from Arbor up, so even though he's tanking a lot of damage here, he's not going to die, but he does just deem it worthy to clear off everything barred the Teacher's Pet here. I can understand it. It was a very, very scary situation at the end, but look at all these cards that Tsai Miao is drawing. He can start to pull off some lethal combos in the turns to come.
Oh, that was the Acrobatics, okay. I was like, where did those even come from? He just drew 2 cards on Tsai Miao's turn because his cards were already lit up green. Alright, and Tsai Miao just going to go a little bit wider on board here, try and protect this Oracle as well. Mr. Smite, only 2 turns away.
He's gearing up, stomping his feet, preparing for a charge.
Doing that thing where, well, I guess he's like he's a Taurus, so he's an actual bull.
Right, where they start like revving
that little
up their feet.
the foot slide. Yeah. I'm about to go real fast.
Just watch, guys. Okay, I-beam now allows for a clear on the Oracle very cleanly, right? You can just go Fellscream Blast again on the left 3 minions, and then I-beam to take out the Oracle at the end. It means you're leaving up the Teacher's Pet, but I mean, there are alternate ways you could like Fellscream Blast the right 3, and then Hero Power down the Oracle, assuming that no Taunt comes off of the Teacher's Pet, and then I-beam to finish it off. But whatever it's going to be, it's got to come in quick here for Monsanto, because this turn needs to start rapidly.
Oh, gonna go for the Fellscream Blast just to buy some time with a big heal. Also loads up a draw for next turn with the Tusk Piercer. So that's pretty good.
And it is kind of slowing down for Saimiao. Like, his mana is increasing, obviously, but the power of his plays, weirdly enough, is kind of decreasing because he doesn't have the Battle Guard anymore, he doesn't have the Oracle anymore. And so just playing a Teacher's Pet here gives Monsanto a little bit of breathing room. It's a turn where he's not dead to Arbor up. It's a turn where he can just slam the Need for Greed if he wants to draw 3 cards like that, and then actually start moving towards his win con. Kurtrus will be in hand at that point, right?
It will be. Does need kind of that 2 full turns though, right? Needs to complete the quest this turn and then play the Kurtrus next turn, and that's usually 2 turns where you're not really doing anything on the board. Glide here doesn't seem particularly good because Saimiao has the double Pack Mule in hand, so you're shuffling 2 back, which copy themselves when drawn, so you're just increasing the likelihood that Saimiao's going to be left with more cards at the end of it.
Yeah.
And maybe the hand is a little bit dry because a Teacher's Pet, which is played by itself. There's not, I get, outside of the Pack Mule, there's no really reads that he can get. So maybe he just says, okay, this is as good as it's going to get. Give him a pretty similar hand, to be honest. Pack Mule's in the exact same spots.
Yeah, he did.
A little less raw power, but no Mr. Smite, he's gone.
Saimiao can do his best impression of me playing Terran here, which is spam mules, but past that I don't really have much idea what to do. Because this hand, again, it's vomiting stuff onto the board, but past that, what else is there? If you get your board cleared up here, that's really starting to feel like it for Saimiao. Like, I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong, of course. He just has to play all his stuff and pray that it gets there. But it's not a great game plan against Demon Hunter. This is where they start to shine against these wide boards that they can clear up with a single Immolation Aura.
Problem could be that Monsanto, as it currently stands, would have to use the second Fellscream Blast in order to actually clean up this board. And this is a 2-turn lethal setup because there's 8 damage coming at the face right now and plenty on board to fight back. And actually, I don't even know if a Fellscream Blast alone would save him. He would do it on like the Peasant.
Right.
It would take out the Druid of the Reef and the Peasant. And that would heal back up to 17, leaving 13 on board, so it would die to Arbor up, but that's it. But then would be a Fellscream Blast down.
Correct. And so what else can he dig for here? He can go for just swing with the weapon. Like, you can obviously try and go for a ridiculous train of draws with Kurtrus if you're feeling especially brave here for Monsanto, which would mean you trade with the Guild Trader, or, sorry, go for the Spectral Sight here with the double jump. He misses, which means he can just go for another draw at Spectral Sight, and again, outside of that, I think it just comes up short. doing some quick maths. Does the Fell Screen Blast keep him alive? As you said, without an Arbor up off the top, it currently does keep him alive.
The I-Beam also kept him alive, right? Because there would just be 2 additional power on board. So it'd be 5, 6, 7, 13, 14, 15. Here probably 16. Both plays die to an Arbor up.
Right. And both plays
This
died
one-
to Panther, right? Because I think he's still
Both
dead
plays die to
damage
Panther.
here. Yeah.
Yeah, both plays would also die to Panther, and it would just be Adorable Infestation, and Fellscream Blast has more flexibility in the later stages.
It's close.
So, yeah, that is close.
He's now used both Fell Screen Blasts, right? At some point in
Both
the game.
Fellscream Blast. Yep.
Yeah, so his
And-
OTK
and one I-Beam.
Right, yeah, his ability to actually win the game is a little limited. You can absolutely still do it with I-Beam, but it's a bit trickier, isn't it?
Yeah. He could just do it on tempo if he finds just like an Immolation or can reset the board and then stick an Il'gynoth at any point. Or
That's
even
very
just
true.
stick a bunch of tradables, right? Like
Yeah.
Persistent Peddler, Guild Trader.
Yeah, that'll do it alone. Alright, you can start with that. Hope to hit Spectral Sight. Okay, there we go for some card draw. I think I'd rather
Chaos
spend the
Leech,
extra
though?
mana. You're playing Chaos Leech here, really? That's 2 mana.
Yeah. You need to heal. I guess
You
you don't
do.
need to heal if you can completely clear the
谢
board,
谢惠
but
顾。
Oh, that's not it. None of this is it. He's digging for the other Spectral Sight, and he misses again, I think, there, right? Or was that guaranteed to be an I-Beam? Either way, he still needs something extra. We need that Immolation Aura right now. If he can get it, he clears the board. That's a complete
各
clear.
取所。
oh,
Oh my goodness.
时间不多了。
Spectral Sight! Oh my gosh, this is the whole deck!
所剩不多了。
There it is! Second to last card. Clear the board. You can trade into whatever beast comes down. It just can't be Stealth. It can't be Panther or Moccasin.
Animations. Animations.
Trade into a poison. Who cares?
got it
Or
off.
I-beam it. Whatever. He's alive. He's alive no matter what. Panther doesn't give lethal. Arbor up doesn't give lethal. And now I think Monsanto can actually win this game.
That is insane. That was incredibly close. And I think he wanted to play the Peddler there, like actually play it out,
Right.
just to have something additional on board. That's why he was kind of shaking his head at the end. But I think that turn was about as good as you could hope for.
Oh my
Just going through it,
goodness.
perfect mana utilization. So, and see, I mean, when you're in this position as Druid, it can seem nearly impossible, right? Does he have to hero power this and hold on to these minions and hope of composting? But if you don't play anything, then Monsanto can just tempo out the Il'gynoth. And then, like, your breakpoints change too if you hero
Yes.
power face, because then the Panther is one step closer. So he's just going to use the Druid of the Reef to trade off this 7-1 and try and get some additional damage in, and hoping that, hey, if this 1-1 attacks, Monsanto plays a minion. He should know what cards are left.
But I just don't think there are any more outs. I mean, again, he knows all the cards that are left. So here, you just play all the minions, and then you play I-Beam. That's going to heal you for 14. Oh, no, sorry. It's going to deal 14 if you want to go for it that way. Or you could heal for
我的
14.
耐心有限。
You probably take the heal.
I don't think it matters, right? There's no single card
I
that
don't
can
think it
deal
matters
the damage.
anyway.
合技装宝
Yeah.
我全都有。药水合技装宝我全都
Like
有。
either way,
Oh, no,
wins you the game. If
Park Panther with the fatigue, right? With the 1 damage fatigue.
oh yeah, the fatigue, yeah. So
you have to heal.
should heal first. Yeah.
And then, so
Because this sets up for it's 7 plus 5, 12 plus 8, 20. It doesn't set up for a 2-turn, but he's got a couple turns of fatigue left.
yeah, he's taking the heal. I think this is smart.
Yep. Back up to 19.
Well, incredibly place-up game plan now. It's just tempo. This is the final push for Monsanto. If by some miracle Saimiao can survive this, he takes the win. But look at all these stats. Aggro Druid just doesn't get there. And the Panther off the top is what's going to save Monsanto by going for the heal. He would have been dead if he'd gone for it in the other order. And Saimiao shaking his fist. That is a brutal way to start losing this game.
Yeah. He's thinking, is there any way double Park Panther next turn would be
there's no way.
not enough. It'd be so 2 points of fatigue plus 7. 9. Okay, yeah, that'd be close.
I think with the headset off, that's effectively a concede for Saimiao anyway, which means Monsanto once again on his gargantuan muscle-ridden shoulders is carrying the entire Americas region over the finish line. Hat and all, the BG squad are looking on delighted. It is guaranteed at this point now to at least, well, unless it's a 4-0 sweep for the Americas in all of Constructed and Mercenaries, it's either going to Battlegrounds or it's already a win for Monsanto and the Americas. He's done everything he needed to do in what is a heartbreaking turnaround for Team China. 2-0 up and getting reverse swept by the deck that they, in every other series, have banned. Every series in the entire tournament, Demon Hunter has been banned. But the one time it's left up, it 3-0 sweeps the series.
Yeah, and it was pretty difficult, honestly. There were some tough turns packed in there for Monsanto, and I think he played that about as well as he could have. And you know, those gargantuan muscle-ridden shoulders. Under his hat is just one single bulging bicep protruding from his skull.
That's why he has to wear the hat.
Yeah.
He's a monstrosity otherwise.
Yeah. Literally. But we'll see if China actually changes up their ban. Once again, going to the next series. Maybe this time they try and leave up Rogue.
I mean, why not at this point? I mean, again, if we want to be realistic about it, Monsanto's already done exactly what he did twice on the Quest Shaman, right? It's not like by leaving the Druid up, they were begging to be swept, because that's also what happens with the Quest Shaman. It says a lot, I suppose, about the strategy that China never queued their Quest Shaman despite having it open, right? Because this is the real problem with their strategy. Even though Demon Hunter and Shaman are both very powerful in this format, clearly, and are likely to pick up at least 2 wins, by not banning the Demon Hunter, you neuter your own Quest Shaman, right? Because it always has a strong counter in the Demon Hunter on the other side. And so I think I would not be surprised to see China just deviate back to the original strategy of banning away Demon Hunter and leaving up Shaman. But no matter what, it's quite clear there's 1 or 2 king decks that you have in every format, or in every ban phase after you've banned away the decks. And for this one, it was Demon Hunter and it was Monsanto with some unbelievably good play.
Yeah, and still have one more of the best of 5s to play for Constructed. Then, of course, we have the 2 Mercenaries best of 5s, and then, if needed, the Battlegrounds. But I think we're going to play Battlegrounds out, even if America's does get that 4-0. But it should be a lot of cool action. And, you know, it's nice, Derek. And I can feel the dubs right now to actually have Americas for once look like they're going to be successful at something. But I also know that I've had this feeling before in the past and have been let down tremendously right when it matters most, right? They give you the hope and then they take it away. But we are going to go to a break before we jump into that next Constructed best of 5 to see if Americans can take that 3-0 sweep. But don't go anywhere. The finals here at the Hearthstone Global Invitational continues right after this.